Good evening, I'm DK Rossa. Welcome back to the TTT News. It is an exciting day. We have had the launch of the men's pledge. It happened on the Now Morning Show, so we started it off with a bang, also saying welcome to our new host, Natalie Lagore. But these gentlemen, they have actually taken that pledge, visibly signing, showing their dedication and their intent. And we want to start off introducing them. So furthest from me, we have Kevin Liverpool, Administrator for the Caribbean Male Action Network, or CariMAN. Next to him, we have Bertrand Moses, Coordinator, Child Affairs, Office of the Prime Minister, Gender and Child Affairs. Next to Bertrand, we have Raymond, Ramnarine, Entertainer, Performer Extraordinaire. Troy Hadeed is next, yoga teacher and author. Once again, I'm DK Rossa. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, DK.
And we want to start off with you, please, Kevin, in terms of giving us an overview of what is the men's pledge and why did you see a need for it, or why did CariMAN see a need for it?
Sure. So usually when we have these traumatic events involving murder of a young woman, as happened in recent times, there is that call for men to improve. There is that call for men to do better. So at CariMAN, we thought that we can add value by providing some concrete values that men can perform in their day-to-day lives to take responsibility to end violence against women and girls.
And Bertrand, I want to bring you in there because you wear many hats as opposed to just the coordinator. You also work with people dealing with mental matters. So what is the significance of having a concrete kind of roadmap, for want of a better term, like this?
This is so critical because I think quite often when people see an issue of gender-based violence, they think it's just an incident that happened and it's over. But this goes on for a lifetime. In fact, it transcends through generations. So when we're talking about the impact of gender-based violence, sexual abuse of women, violence against women, we're talking about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that is passed on, that changes the way the brain functions, the cerebral cortex shifts. There is a long-term impact. It affects sleeping, it affects so many things. Secondly, we're talking about the development of anxiety, not feeling comfortable, women not feeling comfortable in relationships, in relating to their children. I have worked with women who have said they are fearful of their own sons because of what they've gone through. And then that affects the relationship that boys and mothers may even have. Then we have, of course, depression coming out of something that happens to you if you're attacked somewhere. And then finally, we could talk about the development of substance abuse disorders, relying on substances to get by every day. So when we look at society, it's not a female issue. It is an issue that affects the children, the boys and the girls. It's an issue that affects relationships with men and women. So it's something that calls for all of us to collaborate together to ensure that we address this. And that's why I'm so thankful that we as men can come together and say, this is a whole of society approach.
Let me chuck some fire now, Raymond. Entertainer, you're a man.
That's me,
we do it.
yeah.
Yeah, somebody had to get it. So, what's the role of individuals with a platform? People that masses would look at, and sometimes you're thinking, okay, well, I just have to entertain and get my money and go home, you know. So, how do you find the artists, and I specifically say you, because I don't want to necessarily speak for everybody. How do you factor into something like this?
Well, to me, always being an artist wasn't just about entertaining. I believe in inspiring because, you know, I was just speaking to some friends and, you know, we were talking about the power of the microphone and you being an entertainer. For the entire carnival season, we branded our t-shirt, not just Raymond and Delina Dan, but Raymond and Delina Dan, say no to racism. So we were basically trying to send out the positive messages. So as me as an entertainer, I'm using that platform. That platform is Delina Dan. That platform is entertainment. So if I can go on a stage and have thousands of people jump in and waving and having a great time, I could send out positive messages. So I think I'm the lucky one of the lucky ones to be an entertainer, to use that platform. And now, when we talk about, you know, gender-based equality and stuff, I think this is like the perfect time for me to address it, to go on stage and make that positive impact.
And Troy, people would think that yoga is nice vibes, love and peace and understanding. But one of the things that you're talking about is the same way that things can be shared on social media, just energy and vibrations. They make a space different. Is that something you want to elaborate on a little bit? because you know sometimes you say, okay, well, people might think it's high man thing.
Yeah.
But take us there. Give us the heights.
With regards to yoga?
No, yoga, yes, but in terms of like how energy and intention can spread.
Well, I think it's important, you know, that we have to take our power back as individuals and realize that everything we do, say, think, every post, every like, everything that we do changes the world we live in, right? And contributes towards shifting energy in the room. I might scratch my head and all of a sudden he starts to twitch, right? Something like that, or how you walk into your room, or things we do and say, right? And I think with regards to this issue of women in our society, we as men, it's very easy and comfortable for all of us to look at the things we do right. And things we do right. Everything we do is in alignment. People like to talk about what they're doing that's in alignment, right? So a lot of men might say, well, I do suit women, I do talk to women, I do hit women. That's not me. And we need to stop looking at what we're doing that's in alignment so much and start to look at what are we not doing? Where can I be better? Where am I unconsciously contributing towards the very issues that I'm trying to resolve? Rather than just putting it aside and saying, yeah, I don't do that. I just do this. This is what I do. This is what I represent. But where are you not representing that? And I think as individuals, if we start to, you know, like there's a teaching that says yoga is the practice of making the unconscious conscious. If we start to slow down and make our unconscious ways of living and being in our society more conscious and realize how we affect the world around us, then that might really give us our power and realize that we do actually change the world every day.
And that's a lovely point to jump off from, and I'll have the conversation a little more free in the sense that I wouldn't necessarily call an individual, but making the unconscious conscious, to me, calls for a level of vulnerability, because it can be said that nothing necessarily grows from a comfort zone. So how do we try to take those steps to allow ourselves this space, either within ourselves or within our circles, to have that level of vulnerability that leads to evolution, that leads to accountability, that leads to going forward and doing what we need to?
Yeah, and I want to connect it back to the pledge, Dickie. And if persons want to sign on to the pledge, they can go to CariMAN.org. You know, that's where you can input your name, your email address, and sign on. But someone asked me, you know, if a pledge would stop violence against women. And, you know, really a pledge is just words on a paper. We really have to embody it. But what the pledge does is it gives men the opportunity to put up their hand and say, I am willing to make that unconscious conscious. I'm willing to look deep within and begin to reflect on why I think, speak, or behave the way I do. So that's really what the pledge does. It's that first step in taking accountability and taking responsibility to end violence.
And it's interesting you say that, because sometimes people think, okay, well, I take one action and it's going to fix everything. But at the same time, an individual like that may not think that, okay, if I bathe on Monday, I'll be smelling good on Thursday. So it's something that needs to, is a practice, and building that practice and making it a ritualized sort of behavior. And with regard to behavior though, how important is policy? And Bertrand, I want to zoom in on you a little bit in terms of having policy or framework so things can move forward from there.
Is extremely important, because I think that's one of the things we've heard people crying out for, some sort of policy and some guidelines to help us in terms of how could we get that support. And so it's critical for us to have the measures to put in place when something happens, people having, of course, faith in the system to report. And I would say keep reporting, keep calling, because every time you report, even though you may think nothing is happening, every time you report, we are accumulating numbers. You're getting numbers, you're getting data to say there's an increase. So for example, when I think about the domestic violence unit under the police service, they reported in January that there was an increase by 300% in terms of gender-based violence reports. That is astounding. That gives data and it gives power for call to action. And I think that's the beauty of where we merge the data and what's happening with the action. It gives the public an opportunity to voice their opinions, to voice their concerns, so it could contribute to something larger as well.
And I appreciate the fact that you're speaking about, we'll continue with the conversation when we return. We're speaking with Kevin Liverpool, Bertrand Moses, Raymond Ramnarine, and Troy Hadeed. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're speaking with Kevin Liverpool, Troy Hadeed, Raymond Ramnarine, and Bertrand Moses. The men's pledge is a thing. It is a call to action. It is a dedication. Now, Troy spoke about making the unconscious conscious. One of the things I like about the pledge is that it is something that is tangible, and it can lead to making the conscious unconscious. So it is no longer a matter of having to think about it, because you so dedicate yourself to pursuing what this pledge lays out that is unconscious when the idea would be unconscious when you get to it.
Yeah.
So you no longer need to think about it. Should I do this or should I do that? It already is inside.
So you're reprogramming the normal. Yeah, 100%. Now, the way I see it though, if, for instance, if a room is dark and you want to turn on the light, you want to bring light to your room, you have to walk into that room first and turn on the light, right? You can't just clap your hands outside. And this is very much the same. For us to reprogram that normal, to bring everything, bring what is in alignment to be our unconscious normal, we first have to consciously identify what is out of alignment, to fix it, to bring it back into alignment, right? And I know with regards to this issue, for me, and I think for a lot of men, we have this unconscious way of being in our culture and our society as men, where we talk about women or address women or treat women in a certain way, or where these misalignments have become normal. I know even for me, I have said and done things that I have to hold my head in my hands and be like, how could I have done that? And I think that's part of us as men and people having to acknowledge our humanness, that we will make mistakes. It's part of the human condition. And it's up to us to reflect and look at where we are out of alignment so we can do better. Because if you don't have the courage to look at where you're out of alignment, if you don't have the courage to walk into that dark room, you can never bring light in, you know. And we need to make it okay to make mistakes so we can do better.
And it's so important what Troy said, and in all fairness and defense of women, I think, in my personal opinion, indicate that women often feel as if, they're not accepted, in society with respect to the level of respect and being treated fairly. But my thing is that, the woman, you're not supposed to fit in. That wasn't your destiny. Your destiny really is, you were born to stand out. Women were born to stand out. And I could talk on behalf of myself. I was surrounded by the strongest woman ever in my life. And that is my mom. And I learned so much lessons from mommy. Love, respect, humility, compassion, gratitude, honesty. Things like that. These are the lessons I learned from mommy. But what I took, two of the lessons I learned, and I took it up to this day, was that of love and respect. And that is why our message is loud and clear. And I said earlier in the interview that I'm using the platform with myself and Delina Dan to tell men and to reach out to my fellow men, protect and love our women and our children.
But in terms of resetting though, and Troy used the word reset,
yeah,
and resetting the energy, that to me goes into music as well.
Yeah.
And you recently had a collaboration.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it, thanks.
So let me love each other with our good vibes. Live with our good vibes. Together is our good vibes. Listen, we blessed with our good vibes. Because this is who we are. Our friendship named Soca. And I could look at you, DK, and say, you know I love you, my brother. and I'll look at another female and say, you know I love you, my sister. And that was the collaboration we did recently, about 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks. Nehelet might be mad. I think it's two or 3 weeks. But it was a privilege to actually work together with Nehelet Blackman. She's the daughter of the late and great Ras Shorty. A song written by Isaac Blackman and produced by Richard Ramnarine and actually soon members of Delina Dan. So that song is so special to me because of, you have to actually listen to the song, but if you go to my YouTube channel, Raymond Ramnarine and Delina Dan, and check out the video basically captures scenic Trinidad and Tobago. But more than that, the message is loud and clear. The message is about us embracing each other and loving each other as a people, as a nation. It is so beautiful. The name of the song is Good Vibes.
And since we plug in, reminding you that you can sign the pledge at CariMAN.org.
Yes.
I also want to get the last word from you, please, Kevin, in terms of, is the pledge all, when people sign on, do they just sign on and then you leave them to their own devices? And lastly, what can partners, females, friends do to support men who have signed on to this pledge?
Right. So once you go onto the website, CariMAN.org, and you sign on and you leave your email address there, you give us a point of contact where we can include you in future events, different activities we may be having that you can come on board. I think it's important that men understand that violence against women happen on a spectrum. So we think about domestic violence, we think about rape, and most people will be opposed to that, but there are very common things that happen every day, such as catcalling. That is it's not openly violent, but if you speak to women and you ask them how they feel harassed, they feel intimidated. On the pledge we included something here, share the care. And we are asking men to play a greater role in household care. Now a man might say, well, how does that connect to violence against women? But what research shows is that women, even when they work, do 4 to 10 times as much housework as men. And again, you may ask, well, how does that connect to violence? Well, the idea when we believe that men not supposed to do housework and men not supposed to take care of the children, that is rooted in an idea that women need to perform these supportive tasks at home because they are less than men. And that is an idea where violence can be a next step, an outcome in a home and in a relationship like that. How can women, partners, and friends support the pledge? We're asking women, friends, partners to first understand that it's not perfect men who we're asking to sign up to this pledge. Nor will this pledge make men perfect, right? Change happens slowly, right? We're also asking for patience. We men who sign on to this pledge may fall back into some of our old patterns of thinking or our old patterns of speech and behavior. Just encourage us and check in with us, because this is a journey, a healing journey that we're taking as well. Checking with us, ask us how we managing, and when we share on our anxieties and our challenges, listen, and always give positive feedback, and use encouraging words.
And we want to thank you, gentlemen, for being here, for taking the pledge and taking that commitment. And just before we finish, though, we're going to hear from our CEO, because Raymond, I spoke about the partnership that you just had with Nehilet, yes. But TTT is actually partnering with CariMAN in terms of pushing this message forward and following and helping to direct the narrative a little bit as opposed to just following it like a news cycle. So we're going to hear from David Robert. But thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. Thanks, man.
So, CEO, why would you, or on a larger scale, TTT, feel the need to formally partner with CariMAN on an initiative like this?
Working with CariMAN on the men's pledge is very important for us as a company and by extension for us as a country. As the state broadcaster, we have a responsibility to inform, educate, and entertain. And a lot of times we tend to focus just on the entertainment part of our role. In this case, for us to educate, we must start by informing men about behaviors that may be unacceptable and the general way that they should be treating with women as we do our part to support the efforts to end gender-based violence. And in recent times, there have been some discussions on the national stage, and TTT Limited did not rush into the conversation deliberately. We did not want to be an echo chamber for positions that may not be accurate or may not assist in getting us to the point that we need to arrive at. And we found in the partnership with CariMAN real alignment in terms of values, beliefs, and the legwork being done, not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the Caribbean. And it was evidence-based, which was very comforting for me, so that I know once we put our efforts in support of this initiative, it is really backed by research, and it is going to move us in the direction in which we need to go as a country, starting off by men taking responsibility for their actions.